There's no politics here. I can say that, but we're still in an election year and people are still playing politics, and this is a hyper-partisan environment. To the extent people want to politicize this issue and Republicans are saying, well, New York did this. New York followed the president's agency's guidance. So that depoliticizes it. What New York did was follow what the Republican administration said to do. That's not my attempt to politicize it. It's my attempt to depoliticize it. So don't criticize the state for following the president's policy.
This is very political. And again, this is true in many states across the country. But the disaster of the COVID response when it comes to our nursing homes is not something that anyone can ignore, is not something that anyone can just assume was somehow inevitable. It's horrific. It's really horrific beyond words. And as we look at the decisions that were made, they can now blame the federal government, which of course they are doing, and that's what Cuomo is doing here. But let's remember that the governors have claimed all along that they don't have to, that this is up to them, that they don't have to do what the federal government tells them to about this, that this is under their own police and quarantine powers. So when they want the authority to do what they want, they claim it. And when they want an escape hatch for poor decision making that has had terrible consequences, then they also just make that claim. You may be familiar with the term to decimate. Decimate is to take a tenth of, and there is there's of course to take a tenth of is something that you might think of in the context of tithing, and the word decimatus, taking a tenth of in Latin, medieval Latin. But it was also a punishment that was instituted in Rome. It was a punishment for mutiny, for cowardice. And what they would do is take 1 out of 10 soldiers, and in front of the other soldiers, 1 out of 10 would be usually bastinadoed, beaten to death. Horrible. But the Roman legions were a very intense and brutal place. And we have this word decimation that is used much more freely, right? Put aside decimatus and the punishment of taking 1 out of 10 in a unit in Rome. It wasn't usually the whole legion, but it would have been a smaller military grouping, and they would kill 1 out of 10 people. We often use, to decimate just means to destroy or to hurt really badly, but the usual or the traditional meaning is to take a tenth of. And it has been used throughout history. And I bring this up just because this moment in time is one of those rare instances where the original usage of the term decimate is correct. In New Jersey, the disaster in the nursing homes has been so terrible that almost a tenth of the entire nursing home population has died from COVID-19. It's over 9%. So just if you round it up a bit, you get to a true decimation of the nursing home population in New Jersey. These are people who are our moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, brothers, sisters, loved ones. These are people who are veterans. These are people who spend decades working in this country, for this country, paying their taxes, obeying the law. I mean, these are people that they all along have been engaged in this social compact with America, as citizens, people who have been doing their part. And now in their golden years, they were entrusted into our care, collectively speaking, meaning the care of these facilities, but also the state regulators and the various officials and people who are involved in making sure that these facilities are safe and that we're doing everything we can to protect our seniors. Remember, the seniors, a lot of them, they're not able to go flee. They're not able to go to some second home somewhere like a lot of people in some of these blue state enclaves did when things got badly. They're stuck in this nursing home. And they entrusted their safety and their security to us as a nation, and it is very clear at this point that we failed them. And I bring this up for many reasons. One is just we should be aware of this death toll, and because you're being told to trust the government now. You're being told the government knows what it's doing, and listen to the experts. How many times did you hear Dr. Fauci stand up in front of America and say, hey, everybody, we got a 5-alarm fire that's about to break out with this virus in our nursing homes. And, we should have, the two priorities for PPE and for all the things that we've got need to be frontline medical workers and anyone involved at a nursing home facility. That's where we should be focused. Did you ever? I cannot remember once hearing with any urgency. We hear all this stuff about, put on a mask or else. Do what we say. Flatten the curve. Social distancing saves lives. Did you hear anyone say, hey, we have to have an all-out effort, especially as this thing was really ramping up and getting toward the peak? We've long since passed the peak. We are through the worst of this virus. And some people they don't want to look wrong and dumb, so they won't admit that. But did you hear any of these experts raising the alarm about this? I watched so many hours of press conferences, so many hours of people that all they're supposed to do is give us the best advice on this. What do they have to share? What do they say about nursing homes? If, in fact, the federal guidance was as stupid as what Cuomo is claiming it was, and then the governors were dumb enough to go along with it instead of objecting to it and doing what was necessary to save them. Remember, they care so much about saving lives. If it saves one life, Cuomo used to always say. What about the 5,000 plus people who died in nursing homes on his watch? I'm not talking about him as a presidential candidate anymore, are we? Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.